Alrighty, welcome back to another training for the referral program. My name is Jordan Da Silva, and today we're going to do a deal walkthrough. So you've gone through all the trainings, you've learned all about how we find distressed sellers and how to convert them. This will really wrap everything up into a nice completion of going through the process and having success at the end of the day. So the first part of this really pertains to the referral program and an example of how you talk to sellers and how you can really connect with them and then eventually close the deal. The second half of it more goes into after that and taking some of the other lessons you've learned about how do we analyze the property and how do we know if we're making a good offer, right? And what to do if there's not that many comparable properties, right? So this will go into a lot more of the lessons that you should take with you when you want to actually start buying your own properties. And so I hope that it's very helpful for you in all facets about real estate. So let's go ahead and get started. This example property comes from Marlin, Texas. That's about 30 minutes to the southeast of Waco, Texas. So Marlin's a really kind of a tough area, not very, not great schools, not a great area. So our goal with this area and the list that we got for this area was to find, dirt cheap deals that you can easily flip, easily um, get a small amount of cash flow going on because of how low the price can be for these type of properties. And now because of it is close to Waco, there is a possibility that in the future it can grow. And so that's why we chose Marlin and some other cities surrounding Marlin, because we know it's an area that we can get some really cheap deals on. And so this particular list was in Marlin and was absentee owners. Now you've learned a little bit about that, I'm sure, in the other trainings. Absentee means that they own the property and they don't live there. Now, a couple scenarios that happens with these kind of people. So the majority of the time, it's a rental property that they own and they manage. And of course, why would they want to sell, right? Well, of course they want to sell because managing properties is not easy. So these are landlords that probably are tired of managing it. They have bad tenants that are not paying, or the property is in very poor condition and they don't want to fix it anymore, or they're just getting up in age and it's time for them to sell and move on to retirement, right? Other cases, it can be an absentee where they don't live there because it's a commercial property and they're operating a business, right? So there's a couple of different scenarios. And of course, in that scenario, like you'll see with the one that we bought here in Marlin, happens where they had a commercial property they own, they operate a store, and they just want to get rid of it. They're closing down shop, and so now they need to get rid of the property as well. So that's the scenario in case we had here with 112 Rose Street in Marlin, Texas, where the older lady that we connected with wanted to sell the property because she was closing down her clothing store. So let's just start off with how we found it. So we got the list of people that are in that area, property owners that are absentee. Uh, we called the list. We used our script for absentee, which is just asking, if they had problems with any properties and wanted to sell, if they wanted an offer. So very, no, there's no sense of attacking, right? So a lot of times I even get calls because I have properties that are rentals. And if people say things like, I want to buy your property, you know, they're not appealing to any need I have, right? Well, okay, if I wanted to sell it, then I'd sell it, right? And so it's just seeing if they want an offer. It's seeing if we can help with any issues that they're having, really appealing to help them to solve a need that they have. In this case, she said, of course, that she had that property and she was interested in selling. So this is where it gets important. So to begin with your script, as you've learned, you want to connect with them. You want to build that rapport. And so the first thing that I did when I called her, of course, you start off with the script. You say, I see they own the property on 112 Rose. And I just wanted to see if you had any interest in selling it, or if we could help you in any way with any other properties. So in this case, then she began to tell me her life story. So whenever you get somebody like that that wants to talk and wants to share and wants to vent, you just listen. So I listened. I let her talk about all the various things she's done with the property, how she fixed this and that, and how she had operated her clothing store, and now how she wanted to close it and wanted to sell the property. So you listened, you understand her needs, and then you restate. So you start off with a nice script, you build that rapport, you let her talk, and then you restate her needs. So I listened to that and I heard her, and then I restated, okay, I see that you have this clothing store, you are closing it up and you just want to get rid of this property. You don't have to look over it anymore. And I completely understand and I want to help. So you restate the need and then you tell them that you want to help and you solve the problem that they have. In this case, the problem is that she wanted to sell the property because she didn't want to manage it anymore. And she had closed her clothing store, right? And so after that, you get a sense of how distressed they are. Now, this is important. So once you build a rapport, once you've understood their needs, then you gauge how distressed they are. And that comes into the urgency of sales. So somebody could say, well, I closed my clothing store and yeah, I don't really want to manage the property. But they say they want to sell it in 6 months to a year. They're not a truly distressed seller. Now, of course, you keep them on your radar, you check in with them every couple of months, but they're not a truly distressed seller. So what you really want to see when you talk to these people, the higher this amount of distress they have and the faster they want to sell, the more likely you're able to get a good deal on that property. Now, of course, like I mentioned, though, you do want to keep any interested or potentially interested sellers on your radar. Keep them on your list and check in with them because at some point they may become distressed, right? No one usually starts off distressed, you know, they take some time sometimes. And so in this case, we caught this lady at a time in which she had just closed her clothing store and wanted to sell. So she was very distressed right at the moment we called her. A lot of things are about timing, right? So we had great timing with her and we were able to talk to her, listen to her needs, and then figure out that she was looking to sell immediately, right? And so after that, of course, we have to see the property, right? So once you connect with them and once you understand their needs and agree to solve them and figure out a way you can solve them, which in this case is we can give her a great offer on that property or find somebody who would be willing to pay what she wants to pay. So after that, you have to look at the property and you have to understand how much she wants the property. So in this case, we did the second thing first. So then I asked her, okay, just wanted to see how much did you want to sell it for? Did you have a number in mind? Now, a lot of times in cases where they're distressed, they may not even have a number. They just say, I don't know, whatever you think is fair. But in this case, she had a number and that was 19,000. So she wanted to sell this for 19,000. Now, I know that sounds great for a Dallas property, right? 19,000, but for Marlin, a lower income area, you don't know. Maybe that it's a good deal, but it also could be a bad deal where the property is trash and there's no way you'd pay 19,000, right? Just doesn't make sense. And so after she said 19,000, I said, okay, I understand. And then I asked if I could see the property in person. So of course you do your research on these properties and I'll show you how I did research after the call to understand the property a little more. But you want to go ahead and see it in person. And if you can, meet them in person. Continue to build that connection. If you're meeting them in person, you're more likely to build a stronger connection because you may have other people that were also interested in buying the property from her, right? You're not the only one who's able to make these lists and get the numbers and call them. So the in-person connection can really be a game changer. So we agreed to meet in person. That way I could get a chance to talk to her in person, build that connection, but also, of course, see the property, do my own inspection, understand what renovations the property may need. That way I can give her that fair offer or take her at 19,000, right? So after that, we scheduled a time, and then I did some more preliminary research. Now, of course, before these calls, you want to prepare yourself on the property. You want to know what the property looks like from the street view. You want to know how much square footage. So this is a 1343 square foot commercial residential property. It is valued at 30,000, which of course doesn't really mean anything until you actually see the property. A lot of times these valuations, they can be inaccurate because no one knows the inside of the property. The city doesn't know, the county doesn't know. So when they value the property on the county appraisal district, they don't know the inside condition of the property. So that's why it's important to see the inside. So we know the value of the property. We know it's 1,300 square foot. Lot size is 5,000 square foot. So we know all the basic information about the property. We know the location. So after that, you look at Google before you even call the person that has that property. So we're looking at it. Okay, it's a pretty interesting area. It's right down the street from downtown area of Marlin, Texas. From the outside, it doesn't look too bad. Of course, this view is from a couple of years ago, so it may have, may have had damage afterwards, right? So you're looking at it, it's not too concerning because of the location is close to downtown, so that's always good for any commercial property. Now, after we talk to her, then you want to get, and you understand her number. That's important too. So you understand that her number is 19,000. Then you want to go back into whatever source you have. So in this case, we're using PropStream, and we're able to look at the comparable properties. So unfortunately, there's only one comparable property because it's kind of a smaller town. So we see that it was sold for 16,000. So we're saying, okay, so she wants 19,000. We're looking at this one at 16. It's sort of close, but let's see the condition of this property. And then, of course, we'll compare that to our in-person visit to get those pictures and to understand the condition of the property we're buying, right? So you go into this, you're looking at the condition, you're looking at the pictures. We can tell that picture is of a retail property. It looks like it's a kind of a corner store property, a little grocery store, and definitely is in poor condition just from the outside. Looks like it's even boarded up. So the inside, you can only guess, what the condition of the property is. And you see that it's similar in square footage and similar in lot size. So this is an accurate comparison, looking at square footage, looking at lot size, and of course, important to look at condition and look at when it was built as well. So this is definitely a good comparable property. So now that we know this is a good comparable property, we have a little base of understanding. Poor condition, it's similar location, similar square footage, and it was sold for 16,000. So that way, we're saying, okay, if this property is, if it's in even decent shape, 19,000 is not too bad, right? Because this was sold for a similar amount, and it's clearly in very poor condition, right? So then we go to the meeting, we meet in person, we connect, we build that rapport. I listen, I restate, listen, restate, show empathy, just connect with the person, match the personality level, match their energy and the energy they give off. If they're sad, you're sad. If they're happy, you're happy. If they're high energy, you're high energy. So match the energy, connect with them, become their friend. And then of course, while you're doing that, keep your real estate investor hat on, keep your eyes open, look at the property, identify any potential problems. So we saw the property, and these are the pictures I took. I just want to show you kind of how we looked at this property. So of course, we're looking at the area. We see it's right next to downtown. And this is the start of the good news. Okay, it looks just like it did on the Google Maps. It has a good condition in the outside, good exterior, no roof damage. Roof looks great. That's always good. Paint is okay, not too bad. Of course, just a little bit, nothing big. The gate looks good. Interior, that's what we were scared of, right? Look at this interior, no problems. Great carpet, lighting works, electrical works, plumbing was working, the AC was working. So all the main things, the big cost things, the foundation was great. All those things that you get worried about were in great condition. If the foundation had been bad in this property, if it had been really, um, you know, thousands of dollars worth of damage to the foundation, to the roof, that could have made this a bad deal. But everything lined up. And so when you're looking at a property and they're offering 19 and your comparable is 16, you know, you don't have much room for error in this case. We want to get a good deal. We don't want a deal that's just matching up with that comparable, right? So in this case, the condition is great. There's very small cosmetic issues. Everything else is in great condition. The whole property, you know, it's ready to move in right when you buy it. So we take her at 19,000. That's a number you can do. Now, let's say our number had been 25. We had made that, then you stick to that number, right? You stick to the number, you say 25 is as much as I can give you. But in this case, she had already done 19. She had given you what you want, right? So we probably would have been willing to pay more for this property, and we couldn't use our negotiating strategies to do that. But if you get 19 and you love that number, then just shut your mouth. That's the biggest thing that you can learn is just, if you get the number you want, stop talking. If I had said, well, you know, she said 19 and I want to at least counter, see if I can get it lower, and I offer 18, and then she's mad at me and she says 18, I told you I wanted 19. I'm going to look to somebody else to sell this property to. You just lost out on a good deal that you were willing to pay 19,000 for because you got greedy. So it's important that once you do all your comparables, once you do all your research, and this is when you become a real estate investor, not necessarily using these tactics now as a beginner. When you're making real offers on properties, you want to get to that number, stay disciplined, don't go over it, but also don't ruin a good deal by trying to become greedy and get lower than what you should pay for it, right? So 19,000 was a fair, very good price for that property. I shut my mouth. I said, okay, I can do 19. Let's do it. Let's solve your problem. Let's get it done quickly. So we did. We closed this property. We got it for 19, and it turned out to be a great deal because it's in an okay location. The condition is very good, and we can sell this property down the road for 60, 70, 80,000 without having to do almost any work on the property. And that is a fantastic deal. So just to go over this deal once more, as far as the deal walkthrough and how everything went. So to start off, we got a good list, right? We understood what we're looking for. You have to have a defined criteria. So in this case, we know we're looking at a low income area, the city, right? Look at the city, Marlin, Texas. Know what city you want to buy in, right? And keep that criteria consistent. So we wanted to buy there. We're not wasting our time. We wanted to buy there, and we wanted people that had properties that they were tired of managing. So we knew the type of person we're looking for. And then we had a script to match that. We know what kind of script can really connect with those kind of people. It's understanding what issues they face and seeing if you can help, being a helpful person. Scripts are very dependent upon who you're talking to. So in this case, the absentee owner, someone that's managing a property, they don't want to manage it anymore. You're matching that with your script. So in this case, we matched it by wanting to solve a problem with that property and wanting to see if we could help them with that property, because we know how much time and energy goes into managing a property. So we did that. We got a good list, and then we figured out the best way to connect to that list. And then once we did that and we got contact with this person, we built that good rapport. We built it over the phone. We listened. We didn't talk too much. You can't talk too much, right? And then after we did that, then we listened to her, we restated her concerns, and we addressed them with a solution. The solution being that we can find somebody or ourselves can buy that property and get rid of it for them, right? And then after that, we did research on the property and we built a connection in person, right? So we did our research, we did our pictures, we did our research on the comparables in that area for this property. We got our number that we want and that the maximum we would pay. and then we agreed to a price and we stopped talking, right? So we did everything right in this scenario. This was an easy deal to have because the numbers made sense immediately. We didn't have to negotiate. There was no problems with title. There were no issues with closing this property. Now, of course, properties are not always that simple, but I hope this training gives you an idea of the steps it takes to make a deal happen. It all begins with how you're able to talk to these sellers and how you're able to build those connections. And then it ends with you being a smart, savvy real estate investor who knows a good number to pay for a given property by understanding the market, understanding discipline when it comes to your numbers, how much it costs to renovate, and then making it close, right? Closing the deal, being true in your word, not being greedy, and then shutting your mouth when the time is right. So if you have any questions about any more deal walkthroughs, of course, as part of this program, we love to offer question and answer. We love to offer more trainings as we go on. Feel free to write those questions down and ask me, put it in the Facebook group that we have, email us, call us, whatever you need to do. But I hope you enjoyed this training. And like I said, have any questions, feel free to contact us. And thank you so much for being a part of our referral program. Thank you.